All right, we're about to take a trip to the cosmic fringe, a tour through a gallery of worlds so utterly bizarre they completely shatter what you and I think of as a planet. Let's jump right in.
So, when I say planet, what do you picture? You probably think of Earth, right? Blue oceans, white clouds, or maybe a giant like Jupiter with its great red spot. You picture nice, stable, almost circular orbits, and whether you can at least try to predict.
Well, that neat and tidy picture you have in your head, I want you to go ahead and just toss it out. Because the universe is so much more chaotic, so much more creative, and honestly, so much more terrifying than that. The worlds we're about to visit, they're the cosmic oddballs. The exceptions that prove the rule is there are no rules.
We're going to start with planets whose very journey through space seems to defy all logic. These are not the gentle, predictable paths of our own solar system. Oh no, these are worlds that are on a wild ride through the cosmos.
So, say hello to HD 80606b. And yeah, it absolutely earned its nickname, the Whiplash Planet. Instead of a nice, cozy circle, its orbit is this dangerously stretched-out ellipse. It behaves more like a comet than any planet we're used to. I mean, it is just so hard to wrap your head around its journey. For about 100 days, this thing just drifts way out in the cold, dark void, super far from its star. But then, in a terrifying 20-hour plunge, it slingshots dangerously close to its sun before getting violently flung right back out into deep space.
And that close approach, it's absolutely brutal. In just 6 hours, the temperature on the side facing the star skyrockets from about 900 degrees Fahrenheit to over 2,000. This flash frying creates these incredible shockwave storms, where the winds just erupt at an unbelievable 11,000 miles per hour.
Okay, so our next rule breaker, WASP-17b, doesn't just have a weird path. It's literally going the wrong way. It's in what's called a retrograde orbit, which means it circles its star backwards, completely against the star's own spin. This discovery just blew scientists' minds because it's a huge clue that this planet has a really violent past. It probably had a near collision with another huge planet that just completely flipped its orbit upside down.
But the weirdness doesn't stop there. Get this. Even though it's nearly twice as wide as Jupiter, one of the biggest planets we've ever found, it only has half the mass. That makes it incredibly puffy. Its density is so low that if you could find a bathtub big enough, this thing would literally float. And just to add another layer of strange, the James Webb Telescope recently found out its clouds are made of shimmering quartz crystals.
All right, so if you thought strange orbits were wild, let's talk about worlds where the atmosphere itself is a total nightmare. Forget rain or snow. The forecast on these planets is more like darkness, mirrors, and molten metal.
This is TRES 2b, and it proudly holds the title for the darkest planet ever found. I mean, just look at this chart. It reflects less than 1% of the light that hits it. That makes it darker than a lump of coal, darker than fresh asphalt. We think there is some weird light-absorbing chemicals in its atmosphere, but even that doesn't fully explain why it's so pitch black.
But here's the twist. It's not just devoid of blackness. Because it is so unbelievably hot, we're talking over 1,700 degrees Fahrenheit, the planet itself glows from within. So just imagine floating out in space and seeing not a planet, but a giant, burning ember, radiating this dim, menacing red light.
Now, let's go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Welcome to LTT 9790b, the Mirror Planet. And the reason it's so shiny is, well, it's unbelievable. Its clouds aren't made of water. They're made of silicates and metals. We're literally talking clouds of glass and titanium. So those metallic clouds act like this giant cosmic mirror, bouncing back about 73% of all the light that hits them. And that reflective shield is the only reason this planet can even exist where it does. It's in a zone called the Neptunian Desert, an area so close to its star that a planet this size should have had its atmosphere totally blasted away. This world basically created its own armor to survive.
But if you want to talk about true unimaginable heat, we have to go to Kelt 9b. One side of this planet is permanently baked by its star, and the temperature there hits over 7,700 degrees Fahrenheit. That is hotter than the surface of most stars. It is so hot that molecules, the very things that make up matter, are just ripped apart.
This insane heat creates a weather cycle straight out of science fiction. On that scorching hot day side, heavy metals like iron and titanium, they don't just melt, they vaporize into a gas. Then,
Supersonic winds whip that metallic gas over to the slightly cooler night side, and there it condenses into clouds and then rains down as liquid metal, starting the whole impossible cycle all over again. Next up, we're diving into the realm of the truly impossible. We're talking about planets orbiting dead stars, planets that literally vanished right before our eyes, and planets that, according to our own science, shouldn't even be there in the first place.
This is the system orbiting a pulsar named PSR B1257+12. Its star, nicknamed Lich after an undead sorcerer, is the spinning corpse of a star that went supernova. It spins 160 times a second, just blasting everything around it with deadly radiation. So the sky here wouldn't have a sun, it would have this maddening, violent strobe light. And the planets themselves? They're zombies, born from the ashes and debris of that stellar death. Now this is a wild story. The strange case of Fomalhaut b. Its discovery back in 2008 was huge. It was one of the very first exoplanets ever directly photographed. But then it started acting weird. It started to fade and drift off course. By 2014, poof, it was gone. The answer, which we finally figured out in 2020, was amazing. It was never a planet. We were looking at a massive, expanding dust cloud from a recent collision between two giant asteroids. We had actually taken a picture of a cosmic car crash.
Okay, imagine standing on a world and watching 3 different suns set, one after the other, casting 3 different shadows. That was the promise of a planet called HD 188753 Abe. There was just one problem. This gas giant was way too close to its main star. The other 2 stars in the system should have made it completely impossible for a planet to form there. There just wasn't enough space or material.
And here's the biggest twist of all. After it was discovered in 2005, another team of astronomers used better instruments to look for it in 2007, and they found absolutely nothing. To this day, we can't confirm it exists. It's a ghost in the machine, a world that defies physics, and might not even be real.
So after all that, why does charting these bizarre worlds even matter? Well, because they force us to completely throw out the old rulebooks. They show us that the ways solar systems get built are far more violent, more varied, and just plain stranger than we ever could have predicted.
And you know, maybe the most extreme examples of all are the rogue planets, like PSR J318.5-22. These are worlds with no sun. They got kicked out of their home systems and now just wander through interstellar darkness forever. And yet, this one isn't a frozen ball of ice. It's a young, massive furnace, still glowing hot from its creation, with clouds of molten iron and sand.
Each one of these planets is a puzzle piece, right? A piece of a cosmic picture we're only just starting to put together. They prove that for every single rule we try to write about how things should be, the universe has already created a beautiful, terrifying exception. The galaxy is just filled with wonders that are beyond our wildest imagination, which really leaves us with just one question. What else is waiting for us out there in the dark?